3 retinol alternatives for when you just don't feel like using one. You know, celebrities and doctors and dermatologists all love retinoids, but there are some people who hate them. Retinoids can cause irritation and peeling, and if not used with a lot of care or on sensitive skin, they can do more harm than good. Well, if you're someone who cannot tolerate a retinoid, or if you just don't want to use one, these are 3 different alternatives and how they actually work in your skin to provide an alternative to the retinoids that we know and love. We're going to talk about a little purple plant that's found in Pakistan, all the way to a tree sap from Greece. But first, let's start off with beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is something you may have heard about before, and it's because it's what's found in carrots. Have you ever eaten so many carrots that your skin like turns orange or turns yellow? Yeah, apparently that's a TikTok trend now, and people are doing that instead of getting a tan, which is arguably safer than getting a tan. But yes, if you eat too many carrots, it can give your skin this orange hue. But instead of ingesting the carrots, you also have the option to put beta-carotene on your face. Now beta-carotene, Betty Crocker. I almost said Betty Crocker. Is Betty Crocker a beta-carotene fan? Probably. I don't know why it's so hard for me to say beta-carotene. However, beta-carotene is what's called a carotenoid. It's what's found in carrots. And when this beta-carotene is ingested or when it's put on the skin, your body can actually transform it into vitamin A. Remember that when we talk about retinoids, that word retinoid is an umbrella term. Underneath it are things like retinol with an O, retinal, which is short for retinaldehyde with an A, and then retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is what's made in our eyes, and retinoic acid is the most potent, powerful stuff. Retinoic acid is the prescription stuff that you can get from your doctor or your derm. However, some people just don't want to use these. And what's unique about beta-carotene is that your body transforms it into vitamin A. And remember, this entire group is vitamin A. Beta-carotene is technically what's known as a provitamin. It's provitamin A, and your body uses this to create vitamin A inside of the body. So remember how retinoic acid, that pure potent stuff that the doctor can prescribe to you called tretinoin, that's made in our eyes. It's made in our retinas. But remember that in order for the body to make that retinoic acid, it needs to have a previtamin, beta-carotene, to do that. That's why you always hear that carrots are good for your eyes, which they are, but that's also how it shows up in your skincare. Now this is one that I absolutely love. This is from April Skin. They're a Korean brand, and this is the Carotene Clarifying Serum. I love this because it's made for acne-prone skin like mine that tends to be more oily and breakout prone. And this not only has beta-carotene, but it also has niacinamide, and because it's a K-beauty formula, it's really gentle. There are some niacinamide formulas that if they're too potent can actually irritate some people's skin. This one does not do that. And this is a fantastic option if you can't use a retinoid or if you just don't want to use one. Now remember how we spoke about that little purple flower that people use as an alternative to retinoids? That one's a little more well-known, and we'll talk about her in a second. But first, we gotta talk about this tree sap from Greece. This is something that is not new at all, but it is relatively new in the internetosphere of skincare online, specifically on Skin Talk, on Skinstagram, and yes, even in aesthetic and medical clinics. This is one particular product that's causing a bit of buzz from the Inky list. The reason why is because on the front, they are specifically calling out one ingredient that's at 2% in here. It's called Novoretin. And while Novoretin is a molecule that is patented and it's relatively new, but it has been used in cosmetics such as this one, the actual active ingredient that Novoretin is made from has actually been used by ancient Romans. And it's been used in Greece for years. It comes from this shrub, this kind of bark, and when you cut the bark, it actually kind of weeps. If you've ever seen maple syrup being collected, it's very similar, only it's skincare, and it only happens on these unique islands in Greece. Now, the locals there have been harvesting it for hundreds of years, but people have known about the health benefits for quite a while, and it's actually considered a holistic medication if you go to certain places in Europe and look at some of the holistic medicine books there. The shrub is called Pistacia lentiscus, and I really hope that I'm pronouncing that correctly, and that's why I haven't said the name of this shrub at all until just now, because I'm a little bit worried about my pronunciation. But it's also called the mastic tree of lentisk, and what's so unique about this is that when it's extracted as a sap, or when it's put into this Novoretin blend that is made by a cosmetic manufacturer and then sold to companies like the Inky List that then puts it in their formula, the way that this actually works on the skin is unique, because although there aren't a ton of medical studies on it, it seems like this is another ingredient that basically tells your skin to produce its own retinoids more effectively. So unlike beta-carotene that your skin is turning into a retinoid, this is actually telling your skin, hey, hey, wake up, make more retinoids. And if your skin is making more retinoids on its own, you can bet that you're going to see those benefits. And because your body is pretty good at staying in homeostasis, meaning balance, it's pretty hard to overdo it. Your body isn't going to produce more retinoids than it naturally needs unless you have a major issue, which you should probably talk to a doctor about. And I am not your doctor. Now, there isn't a ton of research on Novoretin, and even though this is the product that I've been trying from the Inky list, this is made for acne-prone skin, so again, me. There are other skincare products out there that have Novoretin in them that aren't necessarily made for acne, but that target wrinkles or hydration or overall skin health. Novoretin could be an awesome option if you want something that promotes your own body to make more of the good stuff, or if you just don't want to use a retinoid in your routine. But we can't stop at the Greek tree bark sap, because you know we gotta talk about this pretty purple flower that, yes, is found all over Asia, specifically in Pakistan and in China. And a lot of people like to say that this ingredient is endangered, but it's not actually endangered, and it grows pretty well. This is our Hoochie Coochie Bakuchiol, and I did not come up with that name. That is thanks to our dear Dr. Dre. She called it Hoochie Coochie Bakuchiol, and I will not live that down. That is its new official name, okay? It is this gorgeous purple flower, and a lot of people have seen amazing benefits with this, and people say that it's a retinol alternative. It helps with wrinkles, it helps with fine lines, it helps with acne, it helps with scarring. It's not medically proven to treat any of them, but people have actually tested this purple stuff side by side retinoids, and they found that while Bakuchiol is not as intense as retinoids, it actually shows some of the same benefits of wrinkle reduction and of luminosity, but without the irritation, and it happens to be more hydrating because of the ways that they've tested it. Psoriella coralifolia, which again I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, but is the Latin name of Bakuchiol, has actually never been considered endangered, and a lot of the reason that people say not to get it is, number one, manufacturers are fighting with each other, and the manufacturers and the skincare brands and the companies that create retinoids are like, Bakuchiol is so bad for you, it's endangered, you're ruining the planet. But then the brands who have and use Bakuchiol are pointing the finger in the other direction, and they're saying, no, you're irritating, you're not pregnancy safe, you're bad. And they're like fighting amongst each other just to try to get you to spend more money. This is why I always tell you to turn and learn your ingredients, be a critic and a skeptic, and literally find someone or find resources that can filter out the bullshit for you. I hope that's what I'm doing here right now, which I'm going to continue with in just a second, but let me just say, find your core list of trusted publications, people, and places that you can go to get relevant information, and rely on those, because if you just listen to brands that have a financial motive to get you to spend money, it's really hard to know if you're getting accurate information. And that's also why when you're reading those medical studies, you want to make sure that you're checking the conflicts of interest at the bottom. Bakuchiol has been used in Chinese medicine for hundreds, if not thousands of years, but it was first extracted back in 1996, and that's when people started using it and testing it. It took over a decade until 2010 before it actually got put into cosmetics, but by 2013, the hype for it was so good that people were already using it in medical clinics and aesthetic clinics, or yes, even when you went to go purchase skincare at like an Ulta or a Sephora. Bakuchiol has some impressive studies that have actually been done on the skin, and there are some ideas of how Bakuchiol works, although it's not definitive. There was a gene expression profiling study that actually tested Bakuchiol on people's skin. They saw increased elasticity, increased firmness in the skin, they saw a reduction of wrinkles and pigmentation, and even a reduction in photo damage. So again, it's not the same thing as a retinoid. It actually doesn't even work in the same way on your skin as a retinoid does, because it doesn't bind to the RAR and RXR receptors that retinol, retinoic acid do, but it does seem to work in the skin to cause epigenetic changes, and it does seem to hydrate pretty well. There have been some studies that show it functions like an analog of retinol, and when applied to the skin, it can create some of those epigenetic changes that are causing the luminosity and the firmness and the elasticity in the skin. And again, for people who can't use a retinoid or are just sick of it and don't want to, this is a really good alternative that a lot of people have seen results with. And again, there's not a ton of medical studies, definitely not as many as we have on retinoids themselves, but there is a good amount, and they do look pretty promising. The way scientists and researchers believe that Bakuchiol works is that it goes into the skin and it actually causes epigenetic changes. Epigenetic changes are those changes that we can actually influence from changing our diet or our exercise or what we put on our skin. But it creates these changes by basically flipping those epigenetic genes on so that your skin skin's fibroblasts, those special little cells, create more collagen, the strong stuff, and yes, probably more elastin, which is the stretchy stuff. So if Bakuchiol, this pretty purple plant, can go into our faces and say, hey, fibroblasts, I'm gonna tickle you, make more of the good stuff, and if that's what's actually happening, then it makes sense that Bakuchiol is a really great alternative to retinoids, which, using a different mechanism of action, do cause the skin to have more firmness, more elasticity, less pigmentation, and less acne as well. And as a bonus, Hoochie Coochie Bakuchiol has way more antioxidants than retinoids do. And because it's more photostable, meaning light stable, it's something you could use during the day or underneath sunscreen, whereas with a regular prescription strength retinoid, it's best to use these at night. Now, you don't have to stop using your retinoids. Again, if you have something in your routine that works for you, keep using it. Make sure that you're getting the most out of your money. But if you've been too afraid to start a retinoid, or if you've used one and you're just like, I don't see the hype, and you want the benefits and you're willing to try something new, these are 3 of the best areas that you can start. And now you're a skintellectual, so you actually know how each of these works in the skin. Overall, always remember to stay hydrated, both orally and topically. Reapply that SPF, whether or not you're using a retinoid or a retinoid alternative. Always use a sunscreen, and be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in this next video. Love you guys. Bye.